I just wanted to sit down and talk about the show that I just finished. So we're doing another Weeb-versation video. This time on Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. And I gotta say, I love this show. Despite the oddities and some of the insane moments that are meant to be comical, but I can see where like a lot of people will have issue with, especially the sister. Uh, the sister is very weird, very weird, and I don't think we can really get around that. Unfortunately, what is this show? Well, okay, the main character. Well, there's two main characters, but the main character that the show is named after, Alya, is a high school transfer student in this Japanese high school, and so she sits next to the other main character named Kuze, and she will oftentimes flirt with him or say flirtatious lines in Russian, not thinking that Kuze will the other main character will pick up on it or know what she's talking about, but he clearly does. And so he's got to pretend to not. And the rest of the show is kind of your slight standard romance, will they won't they, but I feel like what makes it a little bit more refreshing or novel is that you have this Russian girl, and then they get into a little bit more of like Russian culture a bit. Whether or not it's true or not, whether or not the mangaka did any like proper research, that's like up for debate. But it's I feel like it's kind of interesting in that and how they present it, and we don't really get to see like a whole lot of it, and it's kind of surprisingly deep a bit for it just being about here's some girl who flirts in Russian. I mean, yeah, it has some of its edgy moments to be like, I'm too edgy to be edge. You can feel how short my edge is. That's very much the main character's sister, and I'll I want to get ahead of this. She is kind of tied to why people you see talking about this show, and she's very much an otaku weeb that's kind of into that like oremo stuff to be YouTube friendly. Yeah, but I take it more as like it's not really gonna go anywhere. And seeing the show, at least seeing the first season that's here, it doesn't, thankfully. But there is some very Orimo energy, and mm. Anyway, so it's kind of a good show despite that. And yeah, it gets into some of like the otaku shit a bit or the weeb stuff. But it's kind of more done for the sake of like, oh, I pulled out this, hey, this ultra rare PNG waifu. I can't believe I got her, or some of that. But I don't know. I just kind of related to it a bit. It was a good change of pace for a rom com slice of life that centers around a Russian girl and her flirting in Russian. I was actually kind of surprised by throughout the 12 episodes the direction it went in, and it focused into the student council direction, and it more kind of focusing on that. And by like the end of the show, I won't like saying what happens, but it was an interesting ride to say the least, because the main character, I didn't really mention this to begin with, but I'll mention this here. The main character being kind of just your standard weeb otaku goober who kind of just has like a heart of gold, but is kind of like an ass at times. He, even though he like pretends to be a bum, he will very much work hard to help when needed. And I don't know, I just was kind of surprised that the series creator like got him into the student council and it feeling not too disingenuous or like shoehorned completely, which I know some like other light novel or like manga or even some other anime would just very easily just shoehorn in them. And you could argue that it kind of is like shoehorned a bit, but I was surprised in the direction of it going into the student council focus, because we've already had like shows like Kaguya Love is War, or shows like Quintessential Quintuplets a bit, but that doesn't really focus on the student council. That's just more about teaching and teaching students and kind of going in there. Well, while we're on that like little tangent, there was also an interesting little plot line that happens here of it kind of has like a similar thing go on with quintessential quintuplets. I don't want to spoil what it is in case anyone's interested in that, but I wonder if they'll pursue that later in season 2, or how big of a focus that will be, because I know with quintessential quintuplets that very easily kind of became the focus, and they went heavily into that. So I'm curious if there's going to be any like parallels. But when it comes to like recommending this, would I recommend this? Um, I would say yeah. Yeah, I would. But I would stress that the sister can be very much because of reasons. But other than that, I had a lot of fun with it, and if you're willing to like either overlook that, or kind of keep that in mind, or just try it to see, despite that, if it's something you'd want to give a watch, then please consider giving it a watch, because I just spent the last few days watching it, and I had a blast with season 1 for the most part, and maybe hopefully you will too. But that's kind of my thoughts on watching. Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian.